Okay, so good afternoon. We are, and well, yesterday was a little bit too hectic between people showing up and comings and goings that I couldn't get the lesson done. And since these are review lessons, I thought that perhaps today I would take a shot at doing the review of both at the same time. Um, and it was interesting because I didn't know how I necessarily felt about that. And I took a look at the lessons, and I've been looking at them, and you know, so finally today, a little while ago, and I'm saying, well, what do you really say about these? Everybody who's using them uses them, and I trust, mostly because I trust the source implicitly. Um, I trust that the lessons are working in you to the best of the ability for you to be working together with the lesson. And that's always dependent upon, um, how do I say this? Your own willingness, the willingness that you're bringing to the lessons. And as Jesus says at some point in time, how much or how little or none at all. How many exclusions, or what do you exclude and what do you include? Is the judgment still a factor in the lessons when we do them? Are there things that you leave out as opposed to because they're still, let's say, important to you as much as if it's a private thought that you don't want to turn over yet? But everybody does these lessons to the best of their ability, and they work maximally within you, whether you're aware of it or not, because once they're in you, they're thoughts that were in your mind, and everything will come around and work as you work with it within you, however you do, and that's all that time is for. Um, and the truth of the matter is, having experienced salvation of the world depends on me. I'm not a body, I am free. The salvation of the world depends on me. And when I had my in the Revelations, and certainly in a perspective that I have when I utilize vision, when my mind opens and the vision is shown to me. There's a section, of course, when it talks about the vision is still dim. And we're here to share the vision of salvation, the vision of how this all works together to bring about an end of dreaming and a total reassociation of the separated sonship back into the unity of the kingdom. Um, and it says there are those to whom that it's been given to see the end, and I'm one of them. I'm one of the ones who have come to see the end. The fact that salvation in the end is true and works, and in my own recognition of being saved and having everyone saved along with me, recognizing that time is over in this world. Old world was over a long, long time ago, and in fact never existed. And what happens more and more as you utilize forgiveness, the seeming paradox of that condition in your own recognition loses its ability to affect you, because the truth is true and the false is false, and the false is never going to be true, and the false will never be real, whether or not it seems real as an illusion or not. You're no longer fooled, and that's the integration of the revelation and the integration of the truth. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Um, and certainly I saw that if there is such a condition, if there is such a thing as salvation, which there is, I assure you, and it has been achieved because we all have done our parts, all of us are given a part. And the fulfillment of the totality of salvation is based on each one of us individually fulfilling our part. And having seen and recognized the fulfillment of salvation, I recognize that you've done your part. Whether you're doing your part now is of no consequence to me, because I recognize that you have done your part and you will do your part, and you will recognize the doing of your part. Time is an element that where I'm asked to be patient. And certainly the salvation of the world depends on me. I'm not a body, I am free. And salvation comes with the recognition that we're not a body, and the physicality of the illusion of space and time is just that, an illusion, and is not our reality. So there's really nothing to be saved from except the nightmare, this feverish nightmare that many of us seem to have, that causes us to cry out in the night, wondering why God has forsaken us and what we're doing here. And yet, today in this lesson, I'm not a body, I am free. In the two lessons, I might add, I'm not a body, I am free, for I am still as God created me. The salvation of the world depends on me. I am entrusted with the gifts of God because I am His Son, and I would give His gifts wherever He intended them to be. Not where I think they should go, but where He intended to be. And I bless this world because I bless myself, and it is in the giving of the gifts where the recognition of the receiving of the blessing occurs in your own heart and mind. God's blessing shines upon me from within my heart, where He abides. I need but turn to Him, and every sorrow melts away as I accept His boundless love for me. And any of you who have sorrow should welcome the fact that there is a place that you can go within yourself where God's love is shining within you now, and you can go there and the sorrow will melt away. And sooner or later, when you do these enough times, forgive. What did Jesus say? Forgive 7 times 70 times 7. And what He's trying to say, you just keep on forgiving until the forgiveness takes. When you've truly forgiven, it'll be gone. You'll never need to forgive. I accept His boundless love for me. And any one of us who has felt sorrow, which is the human condition, so I'm including everyone, and is being told or has recognized that there's a place within us where God's love shines boundlessly, and we can go there and be freed of our sorrow. That's certainly a blessing and a welcome place to go. And this is sort of why I finally decided I was able to do these 2 lessons today together. Just a few minutes ago, I'm part of this. There's an organization called Bountiful Harvest, as a matter of fact. It's organic. It's Bountiful Harvest. And every week they take out like $22 from my checking account. And every Saturday I get a box of organic produce and vegetables. I was out yesterday, so the people who do this, they brought the box by today. And I was opening up it, and all of a sudden it dawned on me, like the correlation of today's lesson and that box of organic vegetables. Everything is true by the idea of it. The form, don't worry about so much. Everything is true by the idea of it, which is why you're true, you're whole, and you're perfect, because you're a perfectly whole and true idea in the mind of God. Now, when we talk about what God did create and what we didn't create, and we're blessing all living things, obviously, if we are entrusted with the gifts of God because I am His Son, and I am not a body, I am free, I am still as God created me, somewhere within me I have been given God's gift, and because God's blessing shines upon me from within, I bless the world because I bless myself. I bless myself by the reception of these gifts and the extension of these gifts, and I am not a body, I am free. So obviously, we're not talking specifically about form, and yet the form is not included in what we're talking about, because the form follows the functioning of our mind in the outward picturing of the inward condition and that we experience. That is a line early on in the Bible where it talks about man was given dominion over all living things. And we're being restored to that dominion. We are entrusted with the gifts of God. That's what the gifts of God are. And it's our job to give those gifts where He intends them to be. And we're not bodies, we're free. We're still as God created us. And we're learning that those gifts are within us. He abides, I but need turn to him, and every sorrow melts away. I accept his boundless love for me. And earlier on, we read in the lessons where love, being the single substance of all the universe, has the ability to be recognized in a form, although love itself isn't a form. So the vibratory frequency of energy that is love can be given from within by giving of that which we seem to have been given in the form and blessed. But primarily the gifts that we're talking about are the gifts that God has blessed us with, and are the gifts that we utilize the form to express as we're coming to recognize the nature of our reality. And our mind is boundless, and our mind is abundant, and all things are possible in God. And so I was thinking about, the idea that each week I get this box with all this, with all this organic produce, and in a sense, it's not necessarily, although it is to me when I eat it, it's not necessarily the produce, the form, but somewhere someone had an idea in their mind as to how they would share and make affordable the boundless love that they were experiencing through, in a sense, the idea of organic produce and vegetables, produce, fruit, being made available to people in a way that is almost effortless and affordable. And in that sense, it's the same idea. Now, what I'm saying is we all have been entrusted with gifts of God, ideas in our mind that are pure, whole, and true. And the assurance of the reception of those gifts is the giving of the gifts. And here in the world of space and time, as we learn who we are from within, and we learn the true nature of time as time is used for the salvation of, for my salvation and salvation of all the world. When we learn that everything is participatory because there's only a single substance, we learn that the salvation of the world depends on me, and I am entrusted with the gifts of God, and I need to give those gifts as they have been given to me freely, and where God intends them to be, and salvation is one of those gifts. And it's a blessing. God's blessing shines within, so we're not bodies, we're free, and we're talking about gifts that have been given to that which is not a body and which is free, and gifts that even though we're not a body and we're free, so there's no physicality to the gifts or physicality by which we know of to hold the gifts to give away, we still have been entrusted with those gifts, we still have been blessed, and we extend those blessings by giving, utilizing whatever it is we've been given and given freely of it. So it's just an interesting lesson because nothing's excluded. All things are possible in God. The form cannot get in the way of the functioning of your mind unless you think the form is separate from the mind as it functions. And what made me remember all this is the tech crew told me at one point in time, showed me a valley. And it was like, it was a valley where people were living and growing and, existing and having lives and blah, blah, blah. And he told me that three brothers, souls, people, who would come together and decide to live in the harmony of the peace of God and learn individually and then together how to do God's will, could be the harmonizing energy for the entire valley and can change the nature of the life of everything that lives within that valley. And that's what I was thinking, that's when The fruit came, and I was just thinking about that in relation to stress. I am entrusted with the gifts of God. We've been given dominion over everything. And Monsanto and people like that use it as an excuse to chemically manipulate things. Yeah, and that's a truism that's within them as well. That somehow they're using to validate their manipulation, their genetic manipulation of all things. It's because we've been given dominion over all things. Yet, that's not a true way of manipulating, because the manipulation of the dream, rather than the changing of the mind of the dreamer, so he can dream a dream of joy, peace, and love, and reorient himself to the kingdom of heaven and its true operating principles. So God's blessing shines upon me from within. That's cool. That's a nice way of looking at it. My heart, from within my heart where he abides, I need but turn to him, and every sorrow melts away, and I accept his boundless love for me. His boundless love can show up in any way, in any manner, in anything. Because love is an idea. It's an idea. It's a pure idea. It's a whole idea. Love is an idea of a totality of reality, an existence in harmony with himself, outside of which there is nothing else. So I can't show you in that sense what love is, but by this time we're looking at the obstacles to the awareness of love's presence in our life. And when we see things like this that are being made available to us, these gems, these beautiful understandings and ideas and ways of opening and extending our mind, and we're told that the only thing that's in the way of us being able to utilize these are these grievances, these obstacles. Now, if that's not the motivation to let go of the obstacles, that's a joy. That's what a happy learner would be. One who comes across the obstacles and in joy lets them go, because he recognizes the more that is behind, the greater that is behind, the little that he's being asked to give up, that which is unreal. And you become a happy learner of the lessons of the Holy Spirit that way. And when you look at these lessons, we're to that point where we're being entrusted with the gifts of God, because we're not bodies, we're free, we're still as God created us. In that condition, no mistake could be made, because there'd be nothing to be mistaken about. And we're blessing each other. I bless the world because I bless myself. I've been blessed with everything, so therefore I can give everything. And I'll never be asked to give what I can't give. And what helps me understand the nature of true giving, of reality, of God. Every situation is that way. If we look at it that way, if we're given to looking at it that way. And that's what this mind training is. We give us a new perspective by which to look at everything that's occurring, so that we can recognize we're not bodies, we're free. We'll no longer be afraid of a condition in which we don't need the body to learn, but we will still experience the joy of God. Why would God extend his joy and create a son and not allow the son to experience the joy that he created him to be? It doesn't make any sense. And yet it is a fear in people's minds that they'll awaken and there won't be anything to enjoy their own awakening. That's nonsense. I'm not a body. This isn't talking to something. You're awake, whatever it is you are. You're awake and you're whole and perfect right now. You may not see yourself that way, but that doesn't mean you're not that. Let's put it that way. And you've been entrusted with the gifts of God, and you've been blessed from within. And the love that you've been blessed with is boundless, it's eternal, it's infinite. And you have no choice but to extend it, because the extension of it is how you live. And you're alive, where you couldn't even be dreaming. So it is. It's time to wake up. Salvation of the world depends on me, depends on you, and it's been achieved, and we're just reviewing what's gone on. All right.